Tom, there are three big data breach stories that we want to cover here. The first involves Christmas and summertime, or more appropriately, snow fallout from Snowflake. The database hack had far reaching implications for a number of infrastructure players and services. Taylor Swift fans were in the same boat as storage admins, even though the phone company in the world seemed to melt down around them. We also heard about security breaches of CrowdStrike. Of course, that made national news and stranded people at the airport. And here at the end of the year, we're being attacked by some kind of monster called Salt Typhoon. Give me a little bit more background on these stories.
So there's a key theme that runs between all of these stories, and it's control. Because in some cases we were out of control, and in others we might have had a little bit too much. So let's start in June, right? We've got this first notification that Ticketmaster's database had been hacked. Okay, not a big deal, right? Like, these kinds of things happen all the time. I will say, though, that this is one of the first times that we actually saw that the new SEC reporting rules came into effect, where companies are required to notify everyone that they had been hacked within a certain amount of time. And of course, as we see a lot in these kinds of situations, they were very clear to point out that it wasn't their infrastructure that got hacked. It was a third-party database. Well, when you read between the lines and you do the math to figure out what third-party database they were using, Snowflake was the answer that kept coming up. And then it turned out that the reason why they were able to get hacked is because someone used a Snowflake employee's credentials to get into the database. That's bad. And then a week later, we start seeing more companies that are starting to get this problem. Quote Wizard was a company that was impacted by it. And there was a common theme that started coming up, was that the companies that were being breached did not have multi-factor authentication enabled. Let me just say this one more time in 2024. If you do not have multi-factor authentication enabled in your account, stop what you're doing and go do it now. Just pause this video, go enable it, and then come back. Good, I'm proud of you. So then we find out a week after that Pure Storage is starting to have these problems too. And the common denominator was, again, Snowflake. So what do you think would happen around all of this, right? Well, if I was a company, and I believe that I actually said this on the call when we had this discussion on the rundown, force MFA. Go in and check the box that says user must enable MFA at next login, right? Well, at first, Snowflake said they couldn't do that it was up to the companies that should force this, because we're just a provider and we can't do that. And I think something happened, like there was a little checkbox that got clicked in the legal department over at Snowflake when they said, actually, no, we can be sued for this if people are getting hacked, because it took about a month for Snowflake to come out and go, hey, guess what? We're going to put a checkbox in the system that can force MFA logins for everybody on their next login. Turns out we can do that when legal liability is attached. And